Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are the future. Are they really? A statement left by one of our viewers that I felt compelled to address, so let's see if there's any truth to that. Welcome to the DIY Off-Grid channel, the show where we dive into sustainable living, energy independence, and the technology shaping the future of clean power. I'm your host, Rancher Pete, and today we're going to be putting the spotlight on a hotly debated topic, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles versus battery-powered electric vehicles. We'll address this from multiple facets, touching on energy density, cost, efficiency, and the pros and cons associated with both technologies, and how we can expect these technologies to play out in the near and long-term future. We talk about hydrogen and the whole hydrogen economy on our late night sessions often because it's the buzzword that's going on in energy circles. I'm sure everyone's heard some passing reference to the hydrogen economy, so what are the cold hard facts around the use of hydrogen? Let's start off with some of the basics. What is hydrogen and what are some of its characteristics? Hydrogen, if you recall from your days of high school chemistry, is the first element on the periodic table. It's the lightest gas, the most common element in the universe, and two of its atoms attached to a single oxygen atom makes up, you guessed it, water. It's colorless, odorless, non-toxic, but rather combustible. It has an incredibly low density and has the second lowest boiling temperature of any material out there, at an unimaginably low 252 degrees Celsius below zero, or minus 423 degrees Fahrenheit. Today it's mostly created from steam reforming using natural gas, but there are other ways to produce it, most notably various methods of electrolysis that allows the separation of oxygen and hydrogen from regular old water. The volumetric energy density of hydrogen gas at standard atmospheric pressure is incredibly low, at just 2.8 watt-hours per liter. It's impractically low, so for the purpose of using it as a fuel, it either needs to be pressurized to incredibly high pressures, typically at 10,000 psi to achieve roughly 1250 watt-hours per liter, or cryogenically cooled, which almost doubles that figure at around 2358 watt-hours per liter. Cooling hydrogen to liquefy it is extremely energy intensive and makes it very difficult to store, with most materials just simply becoming far too brittle at such low temperatures. So for the sake of automotive use, the focus is entirely on pressurized hydrogen, and again at 10,000 psi. Due to how lightweight it is, the gravimetric energy density is quite high at over 33,000 watt-hours per kilogram. But because of the pressures involved in trying to contain it, a tank designed to hold, say, 5.6 kilograms of hydrogen in the second generation Toyota Mirai weighs about 87 kilograms. That 5.6 kilograms of hydrogen equates to around 185 kilowatt hours of total calorific thermal energy and gives the vehicle an EPA cycle range of a little over 400 miles. We'll compare specifically to lithium NCX chemistries for the sake of our comparison, as there aren't any LFP-based electric cars in the US at the moment. The current high-performance batteries used for EVs here have lithium batteries with volumetric energy density of over 800 watt-hours per liter and gravimetric energy density at around 300 watt-hours per kilogram. I'll use the Tesla Model 3 as a reference vehicle, as it is currently the highest volume EV on the market. The long-range rear-wheel drive model has an 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack, an EPA cycle range of 363 miles with a curb weight of around 3,900 pounds, which is actually a few hundred pounds less than the current Mirai at roughly 4,300 pounds. If you've ever wondered, how does a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle work? You're at the right place. Let's back up just a bit and go over why we use a fuel cell in the first place. Now, hydrogen is a combustible gas, so technically it is possible to run it in an internal combustion engine. Combustion, as we know, takes place when a fuel is oxidized, in which heat is given off and the gas expands. Combustion engines only utilize a small fraction of the energy in a fuel, averaging under 20% for most internal combustion engines. This number can go up under load, but during driving, engines are rarely operating at peak efficiencies. And that's where fuel cells come in. Fuel cells are electrochemical devices that generate electricity from a chemical reaction. In the case of hydrogen, a reduction oxidation or redox reaction with oxygen. There are quite a wide variety of fuel cell designs, but more or less they take the hydrogen fuel, combine it with oxygen, generating electricity and producing water as the byproduct. The efficiency of fuel cells are roughly around 50, maybe 60%, which is definitely much higher than internal combustion engines, but still quite a bit lower than the amount of energy that can be stored and recovered from a lithium-ion battery. So in a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, the stored hydrogen is run through a fuel cell which generates electricity, which is then used to power an electric motor to push the vehicle forward. Since hydrogen fuel cells have no energy storage capability, it's purely a one-way process. All hydrogen fuel cell vehicles operate like hybrids. They all have a small battery, which with the current models that are out there, they all sport a small lithium battery to ensure there's enough electricity available for you to floor the gas pedal for quick acceleration. This is why, despite the light weight of hydrogen gas itself, if we look at the current available fuel cell vehicles, the Hyundai Nexo weighs around 4,100 pounds, the Toyota Mirai weighs around 4,300 pounds, and the Honda CR-V FCEV, yes, it's that complicated, weighs almost 4,500 pounds due to the weight of the fuel cells, electric motor, and the batteries. Now, let's go back to some performance figure. The Toyota Mirai can store 5.6 kilograms of hydrogen or 185 kilowatt hours worth of energy. But the fuel cell is only 50% efficient, meaning that 185 kilowatt hours is more like a smidge over 90 kilowatt hours. And that's why the range is around 402 miles, which comes out to 4.46 miles per kilowatt hour, which is not too different from that of the Tesla Model 3, which has an 82 kilowatt hour battery and a range of 363 miles, or around 4.43 miles per kilowatt hour. Nearly identical. But let's talk about round-trip efficiency, because this is where we can really quantify the cost of operating these vehicles. Current lithium batteries have a round-trip efficiency of over 90%. That means if you charge a battery with 100 units of energy, you can get 90+% of that energy back. Hydrogen, on the other hand, has atrocious round-trip efficiency. Current electrolysis systems require around 50 to 55 kilowatt hours of electricity to produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen, which holds about 33 kilowatt hours of energy. But once you run that through a fuel cell, the usable electrical energy is half that, at around 17 kilowatt hours. That's a round-trip efficiency of 31 to 34%. If you produce 100 kilowatt hours of electricity using solar or natural gas or nuclear power, what have you, you can get 90 plus kilowatt hours of it back with an EV. But with a fuel cell, you can only get 31 to 34 kilowatt hours of usable energy in return. The remainder of that energy is simply wasted as heat. We haven't even addressed the challenges of dealing with materials plumbing at 10,000 psi with the lowest density gas in the universe, much less degradation rates of fuel cells, which actually suffer more rapidly than batteries. The complexity of a fuel cell and a hybrid system versus a simple battery and electric motor. Also, to date, there are profitable EV makers and EV models out there, but not a single fuel cell company has generated profit in the automotive space. EV models are increasing year by year, with leading automakers offering at least a few models. Charging network is improving with the additional benefit of being able to charge at home, and they're practically at a point where they can compete with gasoline-powered cars without tax credits or subsidies, none of which hold true for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Now, what are the advantages of hydrogen fuel cells? Realistically, I can only think of two things. One, the quicker time to refuel, and two, better cold temperature operation. The first one, there are EVs out there that can charge within minutes. It won't be for the lack of battery technology capable of achieving it. It's just going to be the enormous power drain on the grid to make that happen. As for the cold temp operation, battery technology will continue to incrementally improve to the point where this will eventually become a non-issue sooner or later. So, will hydrogen replace lithium in the passenger vehicle market? The answer is definitively no. If you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said hydrogen fuel cells had a chance. There were all sorts of projections being made for the cost of fuel cells and hydrogen tanks, longevity of the equipment, refueling stations, and so on a decade ago. But unlike hydrogen fuel cells, battery technology has met and exceeded projections made back then. Prices came down drastically, performance improved, and continues to make improvements. Almost every major incumbent automaker is producing them. Chargers are available in every state with over 80,000 nationwide. For off-grid enthusiasts, the lesson is clear. Lithium-ion batteries remain the go-to solution for reliability, efficiency, practicality, and price. Thanks for joining me on the DIY Off-Grid channel. Be sure to subscribe, share, and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover next. Until next time, stay powered up and stay curious, my friends.